Hello, my listeners. Welcome back to Harmony and Kale in the courtroom. Can you believe that it's already March? Daylight savings has totally kicked me out of shape, but I think after a week, I'm getting the hang of it. I hope that you didn't get the brunt of it like I did. Thanks for tuning in today. Let's see what will happen.
We're both lost at a day. Pretty much similar. I don't wanna hear your thoughts. You don't wanna feel my skin. You just wanna.
What do you mean? You're prosecuting him, Harmony. Why are you suddenly asking me these questions? Lola asked as she stared at Harmony across the table. The two were sitting at a small cafe the following morning. They just missed the rush hour of folks getting their morning coffee. Lola looked like she hadn't slept, which made Harmony worried. Look, I was attacked. Twice, in my own home. If I was defending him, it would make sense, but I'm prosecuting him. So? What does that have to do with changing your verdict? My sister was killed by him, and now you're just running scared. Harmony let out a deep breath. I'm not the one running scared, Lola. If anything, I think the person hiding and running here is you. She rolled her eyes, frustrated, and shrugged her thin shoulders. So tell me then, since you seem to know everything. Why are you getting upset, Lola? If you're as innocent as you say you are, why are you heated? Laughing, she said, You know what? I don't need this. You're hired by the state, and you can finish it half-hearted the way you sound right now. But I am done. She got up and left the cafe as Harmony leaned back in her chair. The irritation that fluttered in her belly caused her to shut her eyes and groan unattractively. Her phone began ringing, and Brian's name lit up on the screen. Hello? Can you stop by my office? Yeah, I'll be there shortly. The drive to the police precinct took longer than usual due to an accident on the highway. Once she arrived, she noticed Brian's pickup truck right away. She walked in, and the men waved to her as she walked to his office and knocked. Hello, hello, you took your sweet time, he said. She walked in. There was an accident on the highway. Have a seat. He pulled out some papers and set it before her. So, I spoke to my guys at toxicology, and they mentioned a drug that doesn't show up on the test. Trilazone won't make it on the screening. A urine can only be held for 24 hours, but to test for trilazone, we can use his hair follicles. If he was given that sedative, it would be in his follicles for up to 90 days. Harmony smiled. Then let's do it. But, Brian said as he leaned in his chair, we have to talk to Judge Wilkes about it and get a warrant for clearance. He's on trial for murder right now, so we can't just hop in there because you were attacked. I know that. Let's get us and Duke into a room with the judge. Duke couldn't believe his ears as he sat in Judge Wilkes' chamber watching Brian and Harmony talk. He couldn't control himself, and a snort came out which caused all three to turn their attention in his direction. Judge Wilkes was the least impressed by his actions. Mr. Hahn, is there something you find particularly comical about your colleague being attacked in her home? She asked. Duke cleared his throat. No, Your Honor, I was being rude and careless, Judge Wilkes finished. She turned back to Harmony. Considering where the case is going now, I am calling for a suspension on the trial until this is finished. I do hope that you find the answer you're looking for. In the parking lot, Duke smiled at Harmony, who was walking ahead of Brian, and watching them together. He shook his head in disappointment. She noticed and stopped walking to cross her arms. What's your problem? She asked. Duke laughed and shrugged. I don't know, Harmony. You tell me. I asked you out a while back and you refused. I asked you out a while back and you refused me. Yet you have no problem giving it to him? What's the difference between us? Oh, wait. I remembered. He makes less money than me. Guess you did always want a loser. Hey, watch your mouth, Brian said. Harmony shook her head and walked to him, her eyes never leaving his. Duke, you're still not over the fact that I turned you down, are you? He makes less money than you, yeah, for sure. But he makes it up in places you possibly will never be able to change. Kale watched as Harmony stood in the corner of the room while Brian plucked a strand of his hair for testing. He put it into a tube and tossed it into a plastic bag and then removed his gloves. All done. We should know the truth in about 24 to 48 hours. Good, Kale said as he leaned back in his chair. Thank you for cooperating, Mr. Viser, she said as she got ready to leave. I want to talk to you. Alone. Brian looked at her, but she nodded and walked to pull out a chair. Go ahead, Brian. I'll be fine. Call me if you need anything, he said as he left. Kale watched her settle down, and then he placed his hands on the table between them. Now that you somewhat have a difference of opinion in me, I want to ask you something. Go ahead. He smiled and took a deep breath. Do you think I did it? She crossed her arms. No. That was a quick response. Are you sure? Yes, I am. You're a public figure. What could you possibly gain from losing money and reputation? Nodding, he replied, Good answer. I'm glad you have turned around to the right side, Miss Lovington. When I get out of here, I plan on taking you out to dinner, and I won't take no for an answer. Harmony smirked and shrugged her shoulders. What makes you think I would say yes? No one has ever told me no. Ah, I get it. You're the incredible Kale Viser. No one can turn you down. She got up and picked up her purse. Well, Mr. Viser, be prepared for disappointment. I don't date people I prosecute in court. It's bad luck. She turned to go, but something he said stopped her. Lola had keys to my place. What? She asked, turning around quickly. Why would she have keys to your place? When I was with Bella, I had considered her for a moment. You know, more than friends. She was easy to get along with, and when I didn't need to be bothered, she understood. I had planned on getting her to move in with me and had copies of my keys made. Harmony came back to sit down in the chair and set her purse aside. What made you think twice? I had given Bella keys already, and when I went to pick her up one evening at Lola's place, I saw a set of keys lying on the table. One of them was a copy of mine, and I know because my keys are specially made. Only one store in the world can make them, and it costs more than 4 tires on a car. I thought perhaps it was hers, but when she came with me, she didn't pick them up, so I know they were Lola's. She has ditched me in this case. She got really upset when I decided to change verdict. Smiling, Kale replied, Doesn't that say a lot about who she is? Then his smile faded, and he leaned forward, his eyes darkening. Miss Lovington, I didn't kill Bella. I may have screwed her in numerous various ways, but I never hurt her. I have nightmares of waking up to her body all over me, and I can't get rid of the smell of blood. I'm frightened beyond my own core, and I'm a man who comes from a rough upbringing. Nothing is supposed to scare me after what I've lived through, yet this violent death has jolted me into silence. Harmony swallowed and ran a hand through her hair. I never really considered what you'd been through. All of this has been hard on you, I know, but now that things have changed around, I feel as if whoever is after me wants me to know that you're not the real hero behind this work of art. Do you remember what he sounded like? Harmony shook her head. Honestly, all I thought of was how to get out of there alive. He was so strong, and I was afraid of dying. Everything in my mind was blank. As a prosecutor, I am surprised you don't have a karate black belt under you. Smirking, she replied, I ought to. My brothers have been on my back since I took this turn in life. She smiled again and stood up. Thank you for sharing with me, Mr. Viser. I will return with the detective once we have the results. The nightmare came again. and Kale turned around in his sleep, forcing the jagged, broken flesh of Bella's to go away. It had been like this for the past few months since he'd been in county jail. He hadn't had a good moment of sleep, and he was losing focus. He was tired, pissed off, and lonely. He wasn't used to this kind of life, and it was draining him. As much as he thought of it, he knew that something wasn't right about the way how he'd woken up that day. But for the life of him, he couldn't remember anything. He turned over and stared at the ceiling. Definitely not the ceiling he was used to, but then again, this wasn't his $1,000 suite. "Come on, Harmony," he whispered. "You gotta find something to save me." The early morning call woke Harmony up from her deep sleep, and she groaned as she picked up her cell phone. "You better have a good reason to call me this early, Brian." "Open the door for me, I'm outside." She sat up in bed. "Are you serious?" "I've got bagels and coffee." "That sounds better." After a quick shower, she joined him at the dining table, where he had a good amount of breakfast items ready for her. He looked pretty good in his tight black t-shirt and jeans, and for once, she didn't feel bad that she'd rolled around with him in the sack. "My guys have the report for me," he said as he handed it to her. She took it and handed it back. "It's all serial numbers to me, Brian. Just tell me." Laughing, he replied, "Okay, it's positive." He was given the drug and did not black out from the alcohol. "This changes a lot of things." "Yeah, except Bella is dead." "But her sister isn't." Brian reached for his coffee. "What do you mean?" "Kale told me that Lola had a copy of his house keys." He frowned. "What for?" "Exactly the question we need to ask her. I sure hope she didn't can her own sister on behalf of her jealous heart. That would make her a superstar in the headlines." Brian playfully punched her shoulder and laughed. "You're in a good mood." She took a large bite from her bagel and in a mouthful replied, "I'm always in a good mood when I have food around me." He made a face. "For God's sakes, Harmony, chew your food and quit talking." Thank you for tuning in. The next chapter will be out shortly.
We're both lost at a day. Pretty much similar. I don't wanna hear your thoughts. You don't wanna feel my skin. You just wanna dream of sin. Sickness floating in our veins. Players in a spotlight game. So fancy when I'm in the spotlight. I'm still adoring my privacy. A craving that is knocking you out. Just straight visions from my eyes. Big hunger when I'm not holding you tight. I'm in your eyes and you love it. 'Cause the distance feeds your limit, alright. I'm in your eyes and you love it. It's sick and difficult, but we're not ashamed. Pretty damn mutual. We're not sentimental. No sentiments, no. So fancy when I'm in the spotlight. I'm still adoring my privacy. A craving that is knocking you out. Just straight visions from my eyes. Big hunger when I'm not holding you tight. I'm in your eyes and you love it. 'Cause the distance feeds your limit, alright. I'm in your eyes and you love it. Your thoughts. You don't wanna feel my skin. You don't wanna feel my skin. You just wanna dream of sin. sweetness floating in our veins. Players in a spotlight game.